the first part is about, just let me enable the zoom in, is about the visualization. So visualization area, we have some pre-built AI features that design using behind the scene, using some algorithms, and you can actually use them to get more analytics from them, from key influencer, smart narrative, decomposition tree. And also some of the normal visual that we use, like a scatter chart or line chart, they also provide us some AI features. They are not a complex one, but still we can use them. So that's another one. And of course, we have the possibility of using R scripts and Python scripts to demonstrate and do some AI visual or statistical visual to get more insight of that data. So these features can be used for different roles. So that's a good thing about that. Even people who are already data scientists, that means that they know the language of machine learning like R or Python, or people who they are end user coming from the business background and they don't want to go to the deep dive of the machine learning, they still can use it. And of course for the data analysis. So that's kind of the cover different range of people to here. So in the other part of the Power BI desktop, that is Power Query for editing and mesh up the data, we have some other analytics. Again, we can kind of clean data or add some machine learning algorithm on inside R and Python. We're able to do text analytics and vision. That's kind of the same what we have in AI Builder in Power Apps and also Power Automate. So they kind of the same engine we have here. And of course, we have we can create a machine learning in Azure Notebook or any other one and then deploy it as a web service and consume it here, which is, I think, is a really big deal. Again, these can be used, of course, not for business user. Business user, they don't use the Power Query, but it's really good for a data analysis. They don't know about writing Python for image classification, for the text analytics, but still with some premium feature, they can use it. And of course, for the people who knows data science and also machine learning with R and Python, they can bring their own code. And finally, we go to the data flow, that is the Power BI service, and actually help you go through that one. So that's a kind of the different features we have this one. So let's go through the first one. I'm going through the first visual that we have, that the name is Key Influencer, is actually has been created in 2018, I believe, and that's a really noise is actually available in the kind of main visualization panel. So you can see that a key influencer. So I'm going to kind of enable it. So as you can see, most of the visual in Power BI that they have a lamp, that means that they use the data inside. So that's a kind of the sign that they use some ML behind the scenes, same as the decomposition tree. That's a kind of the sign you can figure out they have insight or some machine learning behind the scene. I'm going to actually shows you this one with a customer feedback that's kind of showing that the data about the customer who rating us low or high. So we have a company that they kind of, we know the customers, they rating high or low, and we are going to see that which factor can impact on that. So behind the scene, there is a decision tree and relate kind of the regression analysis happen to help us to find out. So what we have here, I'm going to actually drag and drop some of the data over here. So for this visual, we need to provide at least two elements. One is analyze, what we are going to analyze, that in our scenario is the rating of the people that rating us high or low, and other factors that we think they can impact. This can come from your kind of the knowledge experts that you have, or you may did some analysis. But however, here key influencer help us to find out which one has much more actually impact. So I'm just going to add some of them, like role in organization, number of the months that the customer stay with us, number of the tickets that they issue, and some others. So I think that in the organization, these factors can impact on the rating. So it's come up here. So it's give me a visual like this. So this visual is really kind of showing that what is happen kind of impacted on that. So here, as you can see here, the key influencer showing that people showing kind of possibility to ratings are high or low. And as you can see here for the high, we can see some of the attributes here. So first of all, the attributes that's list here is not related directly to the way the order that is happened here. No, they come from the algorithm, from the decision tree, that what is the most important factor that impacts on the people rating us or high. So here you see that when the tickets count, that means tickets means people are not happy about our product or kind of they issue a tickets. If it's going actually going down like 2.68, actually the chance that people rating us high is increased. So you can see the charts also over here. You can see that under the in the x-axis, we have number of the ticket as a numeric value, and in the y-axis, we have the chance people rating us. And you see that they have a kind of vice versa relationship. Also, there's a really good explanation if you hover your mouse saying that as ticket decrease, the likelihood of the rating high increase. And if like 2.68 in ticket counts, it happened to have 4.1 x grow in the actually in the people kind of chance rating high. And this is a really nice rule because it's mentioned that it's about 88% of the data that I have followed this rule, so which is really good. There is this kind of other factors like tenure, how many months people stay with us. For example, from 0 months to 20 months, they stay with us. You see that the number is not really high, it's about 1.18, which is not a great one, but still is a one that we can use it. So these are the kind of the other approach that we have, but I can say the most important factor to be rating us is ticket count. I can go and do the other analysis about the low. So as you can see here, still ticket count has much more impact, but at the same time, for people rating us low, also tenure is happen. So it's not a bi-direction that if, for example, just ticket counts impact. No, maybe for the low, people rating us low, also other factors can impact. And in this scenario, we have tenure. So there is a kind of the suspicion that people, how many people follow these rules. So we really want to know that how we can trust these rules, how much these rules actually can be inclusive. So what I'm going to do actually, under visual, under the analyze, as you can see, we have enable count. So it's actually enable count means that how many people can, so beside that, how is impact on the people kind of rating low or high, you can see that we have a small kind of the, you see there is a line behind that. So this line is actually shows that how much people are, how many people actually affected by that. So the first rule that has about 4.51, yes, that's a really high impact, but it only cover 11% of the kind of people follow this rule. So maybe it's not a really good kind of analysis to see that. Maybe I need to sort based on the count. And I can see, surprisingly, that role in organization has more people actually follow these rules than the other. So that's a kind of the thing we need to kind of check, and based on that we can come it up. There is another thing that can be a bit weird here is the tenure or the ticket count. Is actually ticket count is numeric value, so we see it as a scatter chart. But tenure is not. Tenure wasn't actually. If you look at the tenure data, you will see that tenure is actually not a kind of the group or bean data. But in my visualization, if I back to the visualization, you see that is actually appear as a bean of the data. So what's happened? I didn't do that. I didn't group the data. So the algorithm behind the scene used decision tree first, and then after that it's figured out it couldn't find a relationship between the data. So it's going to change the algorithm. So there is a workflow behind the scene that we couldn't see it, unfortunately. It's not available for everyone to see. Kind of it's a black box, but the algorithm behind the scene actually, if it couldn't find a relationship in a kind of the in the scatter chart or in the decision tree part, is going to change the algorithm and use another algorithm to find that. So this is a kind of the how key influencer kind of works, that to find that which impact on the kind of on the people rating high or low. But beside that, also we have another part that is top segment. So top segment is not a clustering, it's kind of grouping. It's going to find the similarity of the people that they have. It's not use k-mean algorithm or other clustering, but it still looks like a kind of the grouping for us. So let's see that how it works. For example, for the first group, the first segment, in this first segment, we find out the group of people we have here, 94% of them said they're going to rating us high. And this is about around 6,640 people. So, and these people is people who actually, their company size is between 5,000 to 50,000. They are mainly publisher. And of course, they raise tickets less than 4. I can do analysis based on the low. So here I'm going to analyze people who rate us low. And you can see that is kind of different. So the role was not publisher, so there are other roles. They actually is less than or equal to 0. That means that they just start with us for a month, or they are stay with us for a long time. So these type of people, there is a chance that actually they rating us very low. So that's the kind of the things that we have here. Is a I think this one is much more straightforward from my opinion. When I go to the customer, I find that they really understand that. But this one, sometimes for some analysis, is not really clear. So if you think that is not really clear and you don't want to show it to your customer, you can easily disable the segment part and you just see the actually key, the just part of the key influencer. So this is the kind of things, but there is another things that is matter, that this is the data that I showed to you about this. The rating was low or high. Sometimes you don't want to do the analysis for numerical value and you want to see that how they actually impact on that. So what analysis happens? So that's a bit become a different. So here I have another data set that actually we have a sales price of the house through that. So it is not New Zealand data, it is US data. So it's not valid kind of for the situation that we have in New Zealand market. So it's a bit different. So here we have the sales price of the house. Let me, if I can show you, sorry. So we have a house price sales. It's a very long data set. Sales price. Yep, we have a sales price. That's the sales price is a continuous value. It's not actually a categorical data. So what has happened through that? So similar, just a bit more features we have there that I'm going to show to you. So Control C, V, and then here, so instead of the company size and other, I'm going to check the actually the house price. So first of all, the sales price of the house. Yep, so instead of the analyzing the rating, I'm going to push the sales price. And then I think that some factors, the year build of the house, the something like condition of the house. These are the attributes that I think can impact on the actually house price, can have impact on that. So just make sure that is don't summarize, because that actually can impact on that. So here we are going to see that what influences sales price to be increased and what factors can impact to be decreased. So that's a bit different analysis when is a categorical data. This is makes sense. In the learning and the other, we have classification and regression. You see the AI inside when you're using in Power, actually Power Automate, it actually has that. So that's a reason here we have. So other factors that can be have is, for example, the lot area, the size of the house. So lot area, I also add that here. So same thing. So if I just click on the visual, I can see that. Let me just minimize this one so we can have enough space to see the whole thing here. So same scenario, we can see what is has much more impact on the sales price of the house when it's going to increase. That is the lot area of the house, and after that is overall condition. Of course, we can check that one for the decrease, that again, lot area has much more impact. There is a difference over here. So the data that we analyze here for the sales of the price house is actually when for each house, but sometimes we want to analyze it based on neighborhood. So we want to aggregate the data, and we don't want to go back to the Power Query, do the aggregation and grouping. We just want to see that how will it happen if we are going to analyze in a neighborhood the sales price going up and down, which factors can impact. So here, instead of that, you see we have a fields here, name expand by. Let me show you here. I drag and drop the fields that I want to group by based on that. And of course, I need to do some like average or sum of the sales price of the each house. So based on that neighborhood. So it's become a kind of the different analysis, so totally different analysis, but I have different granularity and different ones. So I found this kind of visual is really kind of good for the finding the relationship between the what is happened in the scenario. We have another one similar to key influencer, but a bit different. So it also shows that besides that is showing which factor can impact, it also shows the aggregation of the data, decomposition of the data. So I'm just going to change this one to be a decomposition tree. So that's a name is decomposition tree. Again, we have the same thing. So we have the which analyze we are going to do. So here we are going to analyze the actually rating. So I just book it back. Maybe I kind of, yeah, something like this. And you see that we have two types of the rating, and we are going to see which rating has much, which value has much impact on people rating high or low, so you can actually analyze through that. I prefer, because this data is a bit kind of can be a bit different. I need to change some parts here. Let me kind of apply it to the other one, that is the house price. That's a better example for doing that. So we are going to analyze the sales price that we have here, explained by year build, not a neighborhood, overall condition, and lot area. So here what we have, so we have the, let me see, is the average of the sales price. We are going to see that what is impact on the sales price to be high. So the high value, we are going to see that, okay, so the lot area when is actually this amount, this is the sales price that we have, and the other. So this is based on the same key influencer, but sometimes you just want to see the distribution based on that. So you want to see that what is the average of the sales price for the different year build. So you see the decomposition of that. Similar explanation, just a different visual. So I'll just move on to, so these two categories, the key influencer and decomposition visual, is a new visual that they use machine learning. There is another visual that we have, that is anomaly detection. And that's a bit kind of the different analysis happen over here. So everyone knows line chart. So everyone use the line chart for a while, and that's a kind of the one of the common charts that we're using. I have a data set that is actually, if I want to show you, just go through there. I have a data set that has just a time and a value. So we are going to find out the data point that is not follow the trend that we have. Some, for example, it can be a consumption of the consumption of water, can be the credit card happen, people kind of suddenly some expense happen. So we are going to find some anomaly data during the time through that. So we have different type of anomaly detection, but the one that actually supported here is time series anomaly detection. So during the time, the data point that is not really correct. So I'm back to the here. I just need the time and the value. I should mention that I will definitely share the file that I have here with you guys, so you have the data set. So if you want to practice, you don't need to clean the data to practice. So definitely we'll share the file with you guys. So here I just put the time series and the value. Everything seems very natural. So here we have, under analytics tab, we have two things. So on the analytics tab that is here, we have two AI feature. It's a very simple algorithm behind this, and it's not a complex one, but still can be really useful. First, I'm going to anomaly detection. So I'm going to add a line for anomaly detection. And so the default sensitive point is 70%. That means that how much we can accept through that, how much we tolerance that one. So as you can see, for example, for this point, so these 2 points are the points that our data we consider to be anomaly. So for this one, you said that the value is 77. But the expected value was 62, and the minimum expectation is, so it provides a sensitive, a tolerance number. That's how much we expected to that. Of course, if I kind of decrease the sensitivity, it kind of cover the more area. So it totally depends on you that how much you are going to be sensitive about data and through that. So you can actually put it some information over here. This is a very simple one. I'm saying that some people kind of the real one maybe is become more complex, but this is a very just get a very simple inside what is happen. And look at here, when I run the anomaly detection, I couldn't run at the same time forecasting. That is, I'm going to say, okay, I have this trend of the data. What is happening in next 10 months, 10 years, or 10 days? So I couldn't do the analysis when I have anomaly detection. So I'm going to remove the anomaly detection one. So it should be separate chart. There is no way to switch. You can use the combination of the bookmark and the other two, kind of create one, but at the same time, you couldn't kind of show them. So here I'm going to forecast. So it uses simple time series data. So we have a data during the time, and we are going to forecast, for example, the next. You have the option to select. So you need to make sure that what granularity your data has. So here, for example, my data kind of has month, so I can, based on the month, I can apply it. Or kind of based on the quarter, you can apply that one, or based on the days. So you can actually, you should see what data granularity you have. So if you look at my data, it's actually daily. So if I put the analysis for month, it doesn't give me a proper value. So it should be based on next 10 days, or so it depends on how's your data is there. Sometimes your data is hourly, so is the temperature data coming from there, so it's hourly. So you should add the time series data for the hourly one. So here, because it is days, I just put it that I want to forecast 10 days. Again, here we have confidence value, how much we can be tolerance, the kind of the expected value should be. So we have a upper bound and lower bound that's showing so the forecast is 31, but our upper bound and lower bound should be that. You can kind of make it smaller, or sorry, bigger or smaller one. So you can say just 75%. I don't go through the algorithm things. If you're interested, I can share with you later on, and you will see that's how these calculated. So this is a kind of the forecast data. Of course, you can kind of export the data if you like to as a CSV file and have it, or even show it as a table. So you can actually explore the data as a table over here. So you see that this is the actual data that I have, and these are the forecast data that is happen. So these are the kind of the embedded one that we have here. We have other embedded actually visual that's also help us to do some analysis. So beside the line chart that actually give us these things, sometimes we're looking to find the relationship and also find the cluster in the data. We have a data. We don't know how's the kind of relationship between the data, how they are kind of naturally close to each other. We want to find a natural cluster without saying that, hey, I want to cluster it based on the age of people, or based on the customer type or product type. I want to see the natural grouping of the data based on the how they actually work. So I'm going to kind of show you that one. So the chart that actually is again a simple chart like this one is a scatter chart. So we have a scatter chart. So for people who don't know what is a scatter chart, so it actually shows the relationship between the two values. So here I have sales amount from this is a company that's selling bike, and we sells the bike through two different channels. One is internet sales and another one via reseller sales. And we want to see that actually, first of all, using a scatter chart to see that how they happen via product data, product name, English product name. So I can see that, okay, that's a relationship between that. So for example, this point telling me that for this specific bike, what is the sales amount and what is the sales amount for the one. So let me also rename that one. So it's not, because both of them's name sales amount, this can be a bit kind of misleading. So it's an internet sales, and this one I call it as a reseller sales. So here, if I hover my mouse here, I can says that for this specific product for internet sales, that's amount, and this is a reseller. I want to kind of find a grouping here. I don't want to apply any grouping legend myself, so I can easily, for example, legend gender, sorry, here that's, for example, I want to see based on the people who buy it, but I don't want to do that. I want to do the natural clustering over here. So it's a really easy one. If you click on three dots, there is an option automatically find cluster that behind the scene use an algorithm named k-mean algorithms, and it's a very easy one. So if I click on that, it's going to run the algorithm and of course ask me that how many cluster you want. If I didn't choose it, based on the algorithm, there is an approach named elbow chart that is going to find how many cluster I should have. But if you like, you can specify the number of cluster. Better not, because that's actually, it's going to find the cluster based on itself. But so I just put it over here, so to make it a bit nicer look, of course, the data, because it's very limited, so maybe doesn't show proper data. So as you can see here, first of all, I didn't attach any legend here. It's add a legend for me here that says cluster. So it's find a clustering for me based on cluster 1, 3, 4, and you can see that is actually, these are my cluster. This is one, this is another cluster, and this is the other one. So it's actually without I'm applying any algorithm, any R visual, and the other is created. I can also see this algorithm if I just copy and paste it as a table visual. So even in the table visual, you can see that one. So here, even with a table visual, you can see that is actually showing that. And you can use the conditional formatting here to kind of do that. I'm not sure I wrote a kind of the, let me check if I previously write. No, I didn't write the kind of measure to doing that, but you can actually based on you can create some measure to show the different colors for that. So here we can say I want to based on the what is that cluster showing me. Is it the cluster one? Let me double check the name because I have the cluster. This is cluster number 3. Okay, so just make sure that I have a correct one, so I can do the conditional formatting English product name based on the specific value that is here. I said that cluster number 3, and doesn't show properly. I need to double check. Yeah, so that's better to be a kind of the based on the value that is kind of this one, I think. Yeah, so that's actually based on the cluster is going to kind of color code that one. So that's a kind of the use that we have over here. So you see that is actually, these are the simple visual that we have over here and we can use it. There is another visual that's not using any numerical data to analyze that. So they're using based on the text. So they are going to be using the natural language processing. The simplest one is actually the Q&A visual. Maybe some of you already work with them. That's a really interesting one. I think that's the one of the one that can be used for the business user, and they just, you prepare the data for them and they can very easily start to asking question and create visual. So for example, I'm saying that I want to see the sales amount, fact internet sales amount by what data I have, for example, by English education, English English education. Yep. Yep, English education. And so you see that I mentioned one of the fields that we have, and you see that there is an underline blue. That means that is recognized there as by, for example, I want to show as a specific chart, for example, cluster column chart or bar chart or kind of, yeah, not bar, sorry, as cluster, for example, column chart or whatever. So cluster column. So this, and is actually create a visual for me. So here, as you can see here, if I just focus, I just put the name of the fields that I want, use the keyword by with each other, and provide the name of the map, name of the visual that I want by the name here. So this can be different ones. So if you see here, now let me just doing that. When I set as you can see that actually I can have it with a different format. This can be, when I set as, it can be a map, it can be a matrix, it can be a table, and by just clicking here, I can to make it as a single visual, which is actually using the some kind of the NLP, natural language processing. Also, there is a way to actually I teach it. So, for example, I want to see the here I said by English education. Let me change the term to be by, for example, by customer name, by full name. As for example, bar column chart. But however, I want to set, I want to define an adjective for that. I want to set the one that is loyal. Okay, so I said I want to find a customer that is loyal. You see, there's a two actually line, red line there. That means he couldn't understand what is that mean. This is not defined by that. So I need to kind of go into the setting of that is here. And I can teach that. I can teach Q&A what is means about loyal. So here I can easily go to the here and set, when I set when the full name, for example, describe the loyal, means that we have for example, FANG internet sales amount greater than, for example, some value like this. And is, so I define the adjective for that one. So in my organization from that time is actually means that. So let me say that if it's the number is correct or not, just I put some value through that. And you can actually define that one. It's a bit maybe yeah, FAQ internet sales SEMS amount. So you can actually define that through that scenario. And for example, if I just save it, and here under the manage terms, I can see that one that is work or not. So that's a kind of the another one that we have here, our that we can actually change that one. So I just remove that one to see that. And actually you can just click on here to make it as a normal visual. So this is another one that also use the natural language processing, and you don't need to do anything about that. You just click on that and it's create a summary of your data. So this is happens. Sometimes you just want to take the bullet point of your data. You have to put a text box and write it. But a smart narrative visual, that is this one, is actually provide an overview of what is happening in your data. So here is talking about that actually, and this amount bachelor had the highest sales amount and was higher than the partial high school. So it's provide an overview of this chart. So it's kind of overview of that chart. Bachelor account for this amount of the sales amount. So it's going to pick the peak point of the each visual and put it over here. So using a natural language processing for that purpose. So this is the kind of then overview of how these things work. And of course, beside that, we have our visual, that is kind of another one that we have. I have a different scenario for that one, that actually I use the R for that. So here you can bring, this is market basket analysis. So is actually we are going to see if a customer purchased a specific product, how about is going to purchase that. So you can easily put your code over here. I don't go through that one, and you can see the R visual you want in here. So just click here, put your code, and then you just click on run to see that. That's a bit different. So you need to know about how to work with R through that. That's a bit different scenario, and you can easily run it, or you can easily see the code inside R Studio over here. So that's a different scenario. Myself, actually, as sometimes working with R things, I prefer to do the analysis inside Power Query. So I using the inside Power Query, like here, the one that I done. I get the results over here. So I put my code over here and kind of do the analysis, and then using some of the R visual to show, some of the Power BI visual to show them. That's kind of, for me, is a bit much more kind of convenient, because our Power BI visual is kind of much more interactive here. We have Shiny and other in other application, but I think is kind of is better scenario to doing that. So I think we kind of I couldn't go through the other ones. So these are not visual. These are the other AI fields. If you just go to the, if I want to show you, if you just go to the author, so Leila, I will send that one to the chat. So I couldn't send a chat, but here you can see that one. That's radakat.com author Leila. I wrote most of the things about this AI visual, AI parts in Power Platform and the others. So you can find the free materials about them through that. That's kind of easy. So this is me. So very, very fast overview of what AI visual we have. And I'm here to, if you have any question, so please go ahead. Thank you, Hamish. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Leila. Thank you for that. Some really interesting things, and I'm not, me not being really a Power BI expert. I'm on the other side of the Power Platform in terms of apps and Power Automate. Cool to see those visuals, and I think for me, things like the ones where it kind of gives you insights into why your data increases or decreases or whatever they're pretty exciting actually. And I think there's definitely a few use cases there going around in my head in terms of what I could use those for. We did have a question, and Sarah, feel free to come off mute and ask yourself if you like.
Yes. Hello. Hi, Leila. With regards to the key influences, I was wondering if you have any indication of how large the data set needs to be for it to be a worthwhile visual.
Sarah, there is no actually limitation to that, so you can use as much as. So I didn't show it here, but I run this one for 500,000 rows of the data, and it works well. So as it's same as the other visual. There is some limitation for R and Python visual, I can set. That's become a bit slow, but because this one is using Microsoft engine, is not an external tool, so there is no problem on the size.
Thanks. I've got another question, if I can. When you were talking about the anomalies, and then you were talking about the forecast, I was wondering if we're able to exclude the anomalies from our forecast.
That's the thing that I wish that they put it here. They just shows that one. But to be honest, I do that. I do it with. I have a blog post I can share to in the at the end. I will add it here. That you can do that in Power Query with writing some R codes. There's not that many codes, but unfortunately not here. But this is a good thing they added here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
So I will share, so before coming question, I will share definitely this file with Hamish and Rami so they can share it with you, and also some other links to like the question anomaly and the other, so you can get a more insight of them.
Cool, thanks so much, Leila. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break now, and the next session's at 11 o'clock. Don't forget to, if you want to go into the prize draw for the Surface headphones, which is a pretty awesome prize. I think they're kind of valued at like 500 New Zealand dollars. I'll put the link into the chat there. So go and fill in the form and you go into a prize draw, and we'll draw that at the end of the day. And yeah, we'll see you back in about kind of five minutes time. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you. I enjoyed the nice conference. There's lots of good sessions over there. Thank you. Have a good day.
See ya.
Thank you.